Hi guys, welcome to Perceptive, and today I thought I would end the year on a more reflective note. So this is currently New Year's Eve, and I thought what would be quite fun and interesting to do. So what I've created is this here. So I've created a tier list of all the years from when I was born. So I was born in 1997. And I thought it would be interesting to go through each individual year and rank them for how good they are or how absolutely terrible they are. So as you can see, there's 23 separate years here, so better get stuck in. This will be quite casual, I hope. But I'll go through each individual year, and I've taken a note of a couple of things that I thought was notable about each of the years, and I'll try and place them. There's going to be a lot of switching and moving around, but hopefully we'll come to a decent conclusion by the end. So, of course, I've got to start with 1997. I'm just going to stick that there at the moment. So, what happened in 1997? So, it was the first time in 18 years the Labour Party in the United Kingdom came into power, and that was because of big Tony Blair. So Tony Blair is a controversial figure now, but considering the long reign of Conservative rule from Margaret Thatcher to John Major, I feel like this is probably a good thing. Uh, Although it does kind of signify the kind of centralisation of politics. So yeah, um, I'm not sure that is Labour's fault, but they were a product of that. So I'll go on to the next one. So the death of Princess Diana was really interesting at the time. I don't remember it because I was being born. Uh, but yeah, there was a lot of scandal about it, about conspiracy theories and regarding different aspects of Diana's life. But from what I could see, looking back, Diana seemed to be quite a progressive figure, and she seemed relatively lovely. Not like the rest of the royals. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. So a sad event, but kind of noted or highlighted aspects of the royal family, and I don't know. I feel like that is quite important, especially in the UK. So probably the biggest negative is Barbie Girl by Aqua came out. So as you all know, that is a absolutely terrible, terrible song. And the music video is worse. But yeah, there's not really any justification for that, is there? It's honking. So that's another slight towards its name, towards 1997. Uh, Although Buffy the Vampire Slayer came out, and I used to watch that with my brother when I was younger, I kind of went back into it recently. So yeah, that's quite good. So 1997, it was the year I was born. I'm gonna stick it in the C tier. I don't think it was the worst. I mean, there was way worse years in between now and 2020. Um, but it could have been better. There could have been so many things that I don't know could have pushed it further. But I'll settle for this for now, and who knows, I might rearrange. So 1998, we're going to move on to, um, you know, quite a big year for people that are into computers and stuff like that. It was when Microsoft became the biggest company in the world and Google was founded. So, without Google, I think we'd all be pretty gubbed. So I'd say that's a huge positive. Another kind of political thing was the Good Friday Agreement was arranged. Uh, Obviously, there had been a lot of troubles the between Britain and Ireland, and that kind of resolved it. Um, so that's got to be a good thing, right? That's another positive, I would say. Although, yeah, I won't go into that. I might talk about that another time. Uh, Another absolutely amazing thing is the last episode of Seinfeld aired. I don't know if you've ever watched Seinfeld, but don't. It's horrible and it's absolute trash. So I don't recommend it. So I mean, all of those things were, you know, pretty solid. I would say almost revolutionary, right? Like, yeah, Microsoft become the biggest company in the world. Eh, whatever. You know, it's not great. That there's companies that can get so big. Um, but Google was founded, and I feel like we rely on that every day, at least at some point during the day. So I feel like that's positive. So I've got to stick that maybe A tier at the moment, but it is potentially S tier. I'll need to gauge. I'm kind of just winging this, by the way. So we'll see. We'll go back. We'll do a review at the end, as you will. So 1999, good year, I think. So the Scottish Parliament was founded. They had a vote in 1997, which is good. It's good that the Scottish people wanted more autonomy, of course. I'm a bit biased, but yeah, the actual parliament was founded and created, and its first group of parliamentarians. Well, I don't think that's a word, but first group of Scottish Parliament members took seat, which was great. So I mean, that's got to be a massive positive. Um, the Red Hot Chili Peppers came out of Californication, which it's filled with bangers. Let's not lie. Um, so I feel like that is also another deeply positive thing. Uh, Although it does get kind of grim quite quickly. The Columbine shooting occurred. Now, of course, it was a deeply tragic event. A bunch of kind of alt right kids took the lives of a lot of people, but I feel like it really started a conversation about gun reform. Now, personally, I'm relatively pro gun for due to my political beliefs, but the gun system in America is atrocious, and it definitely needs reform. It's kind of out of hand, and sticking to a constitution that's a couple of hundred years old and not changing it kind of you know tells you all you need to know about America. But I won't go too much more into that. So yeah, 1999. I would stick you in A tier, but I think I would. Yeah, you're definitely behind the previous year in that one, I would say. Anyway, so 2000. Now I looked up 2000 and I was deeply disappointed because I know it was all about Y2K and the fact that computers couldn't count any higher or something like that. Um, but it was a relatively uneventful year, although I found it quite positive in most regards. So the PlayStation 2 was created and distributed. It's, I don't know, maybe one of my favourite consoles. I love the PS2. I never got it until I think I was 2006. Quite a poor family, so a couple of years, 6 years after. But it was an absolutely stunning console, and I kept it for ages to use it as a DVD player. So still holds up as far as I'm concerned. The first folk actually manned the International Space Station, which is cool. I think it's probably the coolest thing, having a kind of permanent staffing up in space, you know, doing experiments and monitoring the Earth. I feel like that is a pretty snazzy thing, to be honest. So I'd say that's another positive. Now this can be a positive, and this can be a negative. But the first X-Men film released, the one with Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, now it's a bit of a guilty pleasure, but it's so bad. It gets progressively worse. I would say the first one sets it off in the right foot, but it just progressively gets downhill. But who knows? I feel like we're used to all the Marvel, the Disney Marvel stuff, becoming so popular. I feel like X-Men had a role in popularizing that, definitely. I mean, it was fantastic. Something just fell over, forgive me. Crap myself. Maybe it's an X-Men. Who knows? So yeah, 2000. It's not right year, right? So I mean, that was all positives, right? Got to stick Q&A as well. I feel like it might dip off from this point onwards. But who knows? 2001. This seems to be a pretty solid year. So China enters the World Trade Organization. Now I won't go too much into China. I might make a separate video on China. But that seems to be a good thing. It seems to be a kind of a more peaceful move on the behalf of China, more accepting move from the West. And although my biases are coming through, and China hasn't really been acting fully communist the last few decades, I feel like that is definitely a push in the right direction. It's not isolationist. It's not trying to separate itself from the system. Instead, partaking in the system and highlighting the challenges within it. So yeah, sorry, my my political beliefs are coming through, but yeah, I feel like that was important to mention. Now this one's a really good one. I feel like we've all relied on this at some point. Wikipedia launched, which you know helped me through all of high school. Without it, even parts of university and college. The best bit about Wiki is scrolling down a subject you like and getting to the bottom and finding the sources that people have already looked up and tried, and utilising that. That's a wee tip as well. I recommend doing that. But yeah, Wikipedia, I use it every day. I'm constantly looking up things. So yeah, a deeply important thing that that was created. One of the best bits about the internet, I would say, actually. So you know, 2001 was when 9/11 took place. Sorry, I've got a creaky table, so you might hear my elbows, but I'm going to start leaning. Um, so yeah, 9/11. We have to begin with that. Devastating for Americans and affected, everybody's life from that point on. Getting from A to Z has been quite a struggle. Obviously, a lot of things have been prohibited on planes that were otherwise acceptable, and it prompted an age of Islamophobia, I would say. Yes, it was devastating, but there's been a lot of things that we've done in the Middle East that have been more devastating, which I don't feel like it's comparable. So yeah, 9/11, it was a tragedy, and it's obviously affected basically every aspect of our life going forward, especially in the political sphere. Um, the Strokes released Is This It, which is an absolute banging album. Hard to explain, is just an absolute killer song. So that's got to be a positive. So I would say 3 out of 4 on that one for positive, but 9/11 is quite substantially bad. So I've got to stick you in C tier at the moment. But I would, yeah, you're definitely. Let's double check 1997. You're worse than 1997, I would say. So I would stick you there. Um, 2000. No need to explain that. 2003. So the worst thing in the universe is that Frasier aired its final season. I'm a big fan of Frasier, so that would have been devastating. The fact that there's no more Frasier. Although hopefully there's a reunion at some point, that would be nice. Um, Johnny Cash as well. He passed. He passed away, which is a shame. Obviously, one of the best musicians ever out there. So that would have been devastating. God, I didn't even realise that was all the way back in 2003. That's 2003, by the way. I took a lot of pictures from the internet, and obviously, this is what I've ended up with. Um, Greta Thunberg, she was born in 2003, which I think is wild. She's obviously very prolific nowadays, and I've just got to say that's a positive. Obviously, at the time, nobody really knew that this young lady would become very influential, but I feel like that's pretty good. And you know, this was 2003. It was the kind of the start of the Iraq War. Now, whether or not we should have been in Iraq is very debatable. But overall, it's not been a positive experience at all. So this, I've got to stick 2003 in D as well. It was absolutely tragic. So 2004, I thought was quite a quiet year from what I looked at. Obviously, a lot of my research is on stuff I found interesting. A lot of things happened in a lot of years that were probably deeply influential. Science progressing as such. But I feel 2004 not super interesting, to be honest. I mean, Facebook was founded, which is interesting. Big Mark Zuckerberg started his empire, as you will, which I don't know. I've used Facebook since 2009, I believe, and it seems to be good. Although now it's terrible. It's just riddled with showing you ads and stuff. Sorry, I got a notification. Yeah, not a good year. But the Nintendo DS did come out, so I mean, I think that's one of the best selling handheld consoles ever made. I don't have one anymore. I gave it to my nephew at some point. But I kind of wish it was still around. Bring Nintendogs back. That was the Bogs dogs. So yeah, 2004. I'd say pretty middle of the road. Not a lot of stuff happened, but the stuff that did happen. Positive, I would say. So now we're on to 2005. Sorry, this is gonna be a long video, but I want you to get it out before New Year's Day. So fingers crossed, we'll get there. 2005. So, excuse me. Doctor Who was re-aired with what was his name, Eccleston. My parents always loved Doctor Who, and I remember a nice wee story. On the day that was aired, the previous night, my dad showed me the one of the Doctor Who films that got released, decade or two before, re-aired, and I remember the following day I got dead excited. Um, so we had dinner in their bedroom. It was mince and totties and one of those wee handheld trays, and my mum brought it up and we sat there and we watched the episodes and I was absolutely hooked. To the point that I actually proceeded to watch all the originals. My dad got one of those like box set things, and we just went right through all the way from the 60s all the way up. So yeah, I used to love Doctor Who. Kind of fell off of it a wee bit. But yeah, Doctor Who, it's good stuff. um, Another interesting one, which is quite relevant to this, is the first YouTube video was created in 2005. I can't remember what the YouTube video was. I was 8 at the time. I don't think I knew what YouTube was. Couldn't spell you my name probably back then. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Doesn't it feel wild that it was all that time ago? 15 years ago was the birth of YouTube. Absolute mental. Something that I thought was quite funny. The birth of YouTube was also happened in the same year as the birth of the Xbox 360. Um, yeah, I thought that was wild. One sec, I'm gonna. Yeah, I'm recording. I thought that. Yeah. So the Xbox 360, an incredible console. Once again, never got that until 2010. So I was already well into high school. Um, poor, but yeah, an incredible console. It's actually still set up in my bedroom. My family, my mum and dad's house. Um, yeah, incredible. Some of the best games ever made came out in that console. So yeah, a lot of love for that one. So 2005, I feel like that was an absolute zinger of a year, to be honest. Yeah, that's got to be S tier. It shaped me really well. Yeah, a lot, I guess. Um, yeah, without YouTube, I don't know. I feel like we all use YouTube every day. The Xbox 360 was an incredible console. Yeah, I know, once again, there's probably other more interesting things that happened in 2005, but I feel like those are pretty top tier. Yeah, so 2005 was not too bad. Maybe S tier, maybe A tier. Nah, I'm going with S because, stick to my guns in that one. 2006. Let's try 2006 now. It was a sad year for lovers of Pluto. It got downgraded to a dwarf planet in 2006, which, if you're very, very keen on Pluto, that is a bit of a shame. The change up of the solar system and how many planets in it. I just thought that was interesting. 2006. Borat came out. Now Borat has obviously been very influential. It was influential this year as well. It made a revival, so 14 years later, which is wild. Yeah, that's an incredible film. I've never really seen satire, well, not satire like that, but the kind of mockumentary style. Um, the way it kind of unveiled a lot of negatives in American culture. It's inspired a lot of people to highlight those issues, especially it's the world's best country in quotation marks. So I feel like it's important to know, I guess. It's important to me. Um, well, the Wii came out at the same time as Borat. Well, near enough, a couple of months apart, I think. Yeah, the Wii. You remember that? That was wild. Um, I don't think I was ever as fit as I was in 2006, and I was just standing in a living room going like that. Aye, what a console. Especially a couple of years after with the what was it, the Games, Sonic and Mario at the Olympic Games. What a game. That was very good. Um, yes, another couple of films. One of them, hey, but the one I really like. I'll start off with Children of Men. It's kind of a dystopian film. I highly recommend it. It's incredible. It came out in 2006, but it holds up. Set in Britain, but everyone is infertile. I won't spoil the plot from that point on, but it's shot brilliantly. It's just so grim, and yeah, I love it. It's one of my favorite films. It's top five. So yeah, I feel like that's important. Chelsea Dagger came out as well with the Fratellis. I mean, you can't whack that with a big stick, can you? That's some top tier music. Fratellis are still going, actually. I think they released an album last year or the year before. Yeah, it's wild. I think the lead man also came from Cumbernauld, which is very close to my heart. Yeah, so 2006, I feel like that's a pretty solid year, unless you like Pluto. So, yeah, A tier, A tier. yeah, I'll stick you there, and I'll reassess the order later. Um, 2007, the world in 2007. The iPhone came out. Now, I'm a big fan of the iPhone. That's very controversial. I just like the user interface, but yeah, I mean, that's remarkable. The first smartphone was in 2007, 13 years ago. That's wild. So yeah, lots of love for the iPhone, and it's still going, so they're doing something right, I guess. Or wrong. Something incredibly wrong, but it's a good phone, right? Um, Also, that was the the Madeleine McCann, the whole start of that bizarre story, right? So, young lady got a young girl got kidnapped, and there's yet been conspiracy theories about their parents being responsible. There's been documentaries on Netflix. We still hear about it. There's still a search for Madeleine McCann. So I feel like, yeah, 2007, that must have been very grim. In fact, I was sitting in a caravan in Arbroath uh, when that got announced on the news, which was absolutely wild. Obviously at the time I was what, sorry, 10. Madeline McCann was a good couple of years younger, but I think anyway. But yeah, that's absolutely wild. Now, another huge negative, of course, is the Big Bang Theory came out. Now, I used to love the Big Bang Theory until I didn't, because it's absolutely trash. Looking back on it, I'm like, why was this funny? And I don't know if you've seen the videos of it without the laugh reel. Oh, it just it highlights how absolutely terrible that is. So yeah, 2007. One positive, two negatives. You're C tier, mate. C tier, maybe even D tier. You're kind of in between. Wish it. Aye, stick you there. 2008. So absolutely atrocious year. um, well, the financial crisis started. So we bailed out bankers and stuff, which sucks. Should have bailed out the people, but that resulted in years and years and years. In fact, we're still in austerity, to be honest. A lot of people have died because of it. Um, and it wasn't because of the people, it was mismanagement from the top, which is typical. So yeah, the financial crisis could have been avoided, but it wasn't. And we're still suffering the consequences, which is brilliant. Um, Something that also happened in 2008 was Spotify. Now, Spotify kicked off. I use Spotify every day to listen to music. And yeah, I didn't know it was 2008. I feel like that's quite late on, isn't it? But probably wasn't really conscious of much before like 2009. So yeah, a couple of films came out in that year, and I wanted to make a note of these because Cloverfield came out, and I'd never watched a film like that, and I watched it at my big brother's house, and I was amazed by it, almost obsessed, to be honest. I thought that was an incredible film. I've never seen handheld films before, or whatever they're called. So yeah, that was amazing. And I don't know if you've ever seen the film The Happening. I think it's Matt Damon, and the plants turn against the humans and make people commit suicide, and it's so dumb, but it's a guilty pleasure. I do watch it every time it's on. Just the concept, I guess. It was a miss, but I don't know. It kind of worked. Now I felt like this was important to mention. Personally, anyway. Midnight Organ Fight by Frightened Rabbit came out in 2008. Now that's my favourite album. Every song in it is incredible. I highly recommend listening to it. It's a wee bit sad, but Frightened Rabbit are always going to be close to my heart. So yeah, 2008. That seems ages ago, but I feel like that was a good thing for me anyway. I've listened to that album for years, so yeah, important to mention. Now, where to stick 2008? Now, it was an absolute ultimate bummer, right? So it's got to go. It's ahead in 1997. I mean, we still live with the consequences of 2001, but nah, it's definitely worse and worse. Yeah, honking. Right, so 2009. It was the year I actually started high school, which I thought was interesting. And when I was looking for this, I couldn't find anything, and then I found something which was interesting. Do you remember the film Avatar? Yeah, me neither. It just disappeared through the zeitgeist, didn't it? Nobody cares about Avatar. Remember when it was meant to be the, was it was it James Cameron? I can't remember the director now. And oh, how big and incredible it was going to be. I think I've watched it once and it was a bit a bit rubbish. So yeah, next. uh, Although compared to that, my favorite film came out. So Fantastic Mr. Fox. I love stop motion. I love Wes Anderson. The cast is incredible with George Clooney. Absolute incredible film. I watch it every couple of months. I'm obsessed with it actually. It's highly recommended. Highly recommended. We're giving it a rewatch even. It might hit different now for you. So yeah, give that a watch. The first kind of the alpha of Minecraft came out. Um, I mean, a lot of people haven't played Minecraft, but a lot of people have, and it inspired the generation to get into gaming. Affected YouTube quite a lot as well. But now it's getting used as an educational tool to teach people stuff, which I think is incredible. It's always cool to see games get re-adapted into educational tools. I mean, we're living in a world that you know thousands, millions, billions of people play video games, and having that as a tool for good is always got to be a good thing, right? Um, 2009, the year Community got released. So Community is an incredible show. I highly recommend it. It's on UK Netflix, probably on other Netflix as well. Highly recommend Community. I actually only started watching it um last year, I think, when I moved into this flat. And honestly, I wish I could just watch it on loop. It's an incredible piece of work. Dan Harmon's obviously a genius in the cast. Um, Amazing. And a wee funny one to add to 2009 is it was the year Susan Boyle appeared in, I think, Britain's Got Talent. Um, Susan Boyle, of course, the patron saint of Scotland. So she gets an honourable mention that year. Honestly, I was struggling with this one, but I thought those particular things were interesting. Not really any events, I think, in 2009. Uh, to my best of my knowledge, but I feel like yeah, good year. So 2009, I would say pretty solid year. It's got to be B though, because I don't think anything too remarkable happened. Yeah, good things, very good things, but you know, more important things could have occurred, I guess. Um, I mean, I say that 2010 is a bit beige as well, to an extent. The song "Riding Solo" by Jason Derulo came out, which is an absolute bop. Aye, so that's S tier. No, there we go. Stick you there now. Um, how have I done that? Is that 2011? Yeah, that is. Never mind. So yeah, excellent, excellent, excellent song. So I also joined the cadets that year, but who cares about me? So WikiLeaks, that whole shenanigan occurred with Julian Assange releasing a lot of documentation, proving that most governments are corrupt and that we should maybe do something about it. And he's still getting grief from that nowadays. So obviously what he done resonated with a lot of people. Kind of led on to Anonymous as well. Which is a quite interesting era. But yeah, very important, especially in an era of misinformation nowadays. It's good to see the truth. Now this one is funny to me because Despicable Me came out. Now, the first Despicable Me film, I would say, is a masterpiece. It's an incredible kids' film. Yeah, I watched it year on year on year when my nephews were growing up, and it's incredible. Although it created minions, and I don't know what else to say there. They are the scum and villainy of the universe and need to be destroyed. So yeah, aye, that's no good. Although the film was good, so each to their own. Uh, my probably my favorite video game came out this year, Fallout New Vegas. Now I didn't play it until I don't know, a couple of years after. I had no idea about it. But yeah, Fallout New Vegas, a post-apocalyptic game set in the future, in America. Absolutely incredible. I've clocked over like 1,000 hours, maybe more, maybe 2,000 now actually. I love it. It's one of those games you can keep going back to, and it's always interesting. Yeah, absolutely top tier, top tier. So yeah, I would stick 2000. Oh, picked up the wrong one. 2010 has got to be A tier at that point, right? That's some good stuff right there, right there. Now 2011, eh, uh, Game of Thrones debuted, which was very good until it wasn't. Uh, that was what, last year. It just kind of destroyed itself, and now nobody ever talks about Game of Thrones. And why should they? Because it's absolutely trash the way that ended. And maybe George R. R. Martin can release the bloody books. So, aye, good thing that it came out, and inspired so many people, but tragic end, unfortunately. Speaking of ends, the Harry Potter books, Harry Potter films ended, which I'm very happy about because I don't really like Harry Potter, to be honest. I remember going to the IMAX to watch is it Deadly Hollows Part 2? And at that point, I'd only seen The Philosopher's Stone, so I went from the first film to the very last film. I hadn't a Scooby what was going on, but the IMAX was nice. So that's good, I guess. So yeah, I don't know. It's good that that ended, but it's resulted in that Fantastic Beast things, which is even worse. But I'll need to give Harry Potter another try, to be honest. Nah, probably not. Um, yeah, 2011, bit of a well, never mind. Actually, something that was slightly redeeming about it. The Occupy Wall Street movement occurred. Now that is influential to all protests from that point beyond. An incredible noble cause. Wall Street horribly corrupt. Kind of tied into the previous thing with WikiLeaks. But yeah, an incredible movement. Didn't really, I don't know, it was kind of long lasting. Although at the time, I don't remember hearing anything about it, but I was, God, 2009, 13, 14 at the time, so I don't even think I saw it in the news, to be honest. But yeah, 2011, a couple of good things, a couple of bad things. Yeah, it's a very B tier year, isn't it? It's a bit, aye, you just sit there. 2012, right? So obviously a sad thing was that the world didn't end. Being slightly sarcastic there. That film came out and that was terrible. Probably worse than if the world ended. But yeah, I thought that was interesting to know. Obviously, that's what 2000 we thought the world was going to end, and then 2012 we thought the world was going to end. Can you remember the hype around that as well? That was wild. Um, a sad one for myself was Ray Bradbury passed away. Now he wrote one of my favourite books, Fahrenheit 451, and The Illustrated Man as well. Um, Absolutely incredible, just a normal guy. You should look up the way he was, just very casual but super passionate about writing. Just an incredible writer, and it was sad that he passed, of course. Um, David Cameron left his kid in the pub, which I felt was important to mention. Once again, The people that run the country are human. Um, but probably the worst kind of human, to be honest. Imagine leaving your kid in the pub. um, the documentary surrounding Jimmy Savile came out as well. Now, Jimmy Savile being very influential to, I don't know, a generation slightly ahead of me. Um, but that was another kind of highlight about the people that are in power, or the people that are the most prolific in society. They've got pretty some dark stuff going on, and that scumbag deserves to rot in hell. To be honest, so yeah, I feel like that was the kind of start of a new era of holding people accountable, specifically celebrities. But I feel like that goes on to be politicians as well. Yeah, so 2012, got to give you C tier. It wasn't a very good year. Could have been better. The world could have ended. So, aye. 2013 now, this is going straight up to the S tier because Margaret Thatcher died, and as we all know, when a witch dies, we stick the year in S tier, something like that. So yeah, she passed away. I remember reading an article, I think The Guardian, by Russell Brand, talking about it, and it spurred me to go home and ask my father about Margaret Thatcher, which revealed a lot about his situation at the time. All thanks to big Maggie Thatcher. Aye, so absolutely brilliant that she passed away. If only we could get her to pass away again multiple times in pain. Another amazing positive was same-sex marriage came into law. It's wild to think that only 7 years ago this happened. 8 years ago, it was very much seen as a bad thing or not good, not natural to have a same-sex couple get married. So that was the start of a lot of progress for the LGBT community, which is incredible. Ironically implemented by a conservative government, which I thought was interesting. But absolutely brilliant. Good stuff. Although it's kind of UKIP began to get a lot more popular. I think they won a local election during that point, and big Nigel Farage became a bit more popular. So, with the death of one bigot, another must rise, of course. Aye, so that's not good. Although, still going in the S tier because the Wicked Witch is dead. So, yeehaw. Aye, so 2014. Now, what a kind of sad year, right? Because for me, anyway, the Scottish referendum took place in September, I think. Now, as you know, Scotland voted no against leaving Britain, which is obviously left in a very precarious situation. Now, I feel like that is quite sad, not as a nation, but just in general. We had an opportunity and we never took it, and it's a shame. What's an even bigger shame is that Gangnam Style came out, and I mean it was a bop, but not in a good way. Right? So, aye, Gangnam Style, not great, but it came out. And I guess relating back to Scotland, the Commonwealth Games took place in Scotland. I got to do a march in Glasgow when it came there, which was really cool. I actually didn't realise the Commonwealth Games and the Scottish referendum, the Indie Ref, happened at the same time. Honestly, it's weird. It's weird. My brain must have shoveled that about. So yeah, quite a sad year, right? So we had the opportunity, we never took it. Gangnam Style was the theme tune, which makes it worse, and then we started playing Kicking the Ball a bit, which wasn't super good. You've got to go C tier as well, right? So I'll stick you in between 2008. Nah, you're higher than 2000. Nah, there. That seems fair. So 2015, this was the year I left high school. Uh, Deeply depressed, but we won't go into that too much. Um, yeah, Conservatives won, which, you know, terrible. Not much more to say about that, but they're still in power and they've been in power since 2010, which is scary. That's why we've got things like Brexit, etc. But I'll get on to that. The Charlie Hebdo attack as well. The illustrator for the newspaper got attacked. Now that has changed the way we perceive media. From this point on, a lot of conversations around free speech have occurred, and it's really developed into an interesting conversation. A conversation for some, an excuse to hate people for others. But yeah, important to note, very important in 2015, and important now, I guess. A film that came out that I found incredible that I didn't watch until a couple of years after was Spotlight. It was a film by Mark Ruffalo, and it was all about the true story of the exposure of I think the paedophile ring in the Catholic Church, which I thought was wild. Once again, ties into a lot of ideas of power, who has it, and how they use it, and what's kind of happening under the night, I guess. Absolutely horrible, tragic, but a film highlighting it and bringing it into the mainstream I felt was very good, and it's a really good film. Highly recommend. I'm not sure where you would find it. Maybe on Netflix, but Spotify, maybe in Netflix, but I recommend. So 2015, very honking year, right? It's got to be C, but not worse than The Crisis or 9/11. Yeah, that seems right. 2016. What a year. So the Panama Papers came out, which I think is a deeply important thing that nobody really talks about anymore. It was exposure of how, the rich's finances get moved about and the scandals and the tax avoidance. I feel like this should be more spoken about than it was or is. So I feel like the release of that paper was deeply important, and I think we need to bring something back, do something similar. So yeah, incredible. Although outweighed by a couple of negatives, unfortunately. So the EU referendum took place, and Britain decided to leave the European Union, which as of 20 minutes from now, will have left the single market, which is terrifying, but it's what the people voted for, and I'm not the biggest fan of the EU, but people are going to suffer, and yeah, it's a scary time. But something that happened in 2016 as well was Donald Trump. He came into power. I was in college at the time, and we were doing bets on whether or not he would win or not, and nobody thought he would, and he did, and he's been in power for 4 years now, and it's been a bumpy ride. Let's say that. Yeah, I won't go too much into what he's done or what he hasn't, but yeah, some guy, yeah, some guy. So 2016, I feel like the Panama Papers releasing is a good thing, but I guess it can be a bad thing because Plato's cave and that we've came to figure out how terrible the world really is, and highlighted by the two things that were in the public eye, the referendum and Donald Trump. So yeah, that's got to be a D tier for me, or does it? Because I feel like these two are kind of I don't know. I'll stick it there now, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. 2017. Now this was an absolute devastating year, and this is definitely going in the D tier. Maybe ahead of 2002. Yeah, that seems correct. So Grenfell, when the cladding lit in the building and highlighted the incompetency of the government. And there's still inquiries going on, and the government's not taking responsibility, and people are still suffering from a building setting on fire. So yeah, absolutely devastating, and something needs to be done pronto. Uh, yeah, and obviously same year Manchester bombing. I think it was the Gabrielle Aplin. No, sorry, that's a different woman. Ariana Grande, I think. Can't say her name, but aye, what a wild thing that occurred. That's obviously hurt a lot of communities. But yeah, even in the same vein, the mosque attack by that Islamophobic terrorist Darren Osborne uh, murdered a lot of innocent people just because of his hatred for a certain group of people, which was horrible. And that, of course, ties into the Charlottesville situation. Some right wing idiot drove into a poor woman, killed her. Yeah, I feel like this year is so negative, but it highlighted a real problem that we're facing at the current moment. This kind of insular point of view. It's been absolutely tragic. So yeah, that's why that belongs to D tier, because I feel like, yeah, maybe not as at first it doesn't seem as bad as the financial crisis or 2001, but we are going to be living with this forever now, and it's fundamentally going to change. Well, how polarized we are as a society. This year kind of highlighted it the most. So yeah, get deed, son. 2018, a wild year for wild reasons. The Beast from the East occurred in the UK, which was wild. Obviously. I mean, we'd seen it in 2010 as well with that big snowstorm, but yeah, that tied with the California wildfires in 2008 highlights a real problem with climate change, which I feel like that was the kind of spark that we needed to start that conversation when things started really hitting the fan. Yeah, so those two important things happened. The 100-year anniversary of the end of World War One occurred as well. Now, it's quite sad to see where we've ended up 100 years on from World War One. We're not any closer as a community. People 100 years ago thought we would have been, in space by now. Instead, we're still infighting amongst each other over petty things. But yeah, an anniversary of a world war was a time of reflection, and reflect we did. Most of us did anyway. Some people like to live 100 years in the past. I won't go into that. 2019, really cool year for the Yellow Vest protesters. Incredible work, shows that protests do work, and the French government was absolutely terrified, which is always a good thing. The Jeremy Kyle show got cancelled. Oh wait, yeah, I didn't even stick 2018. So yeah, it's got to be C, right? But like there, I would say. Okay. Aye, aye, aye. Worse than 2012. Yeah, that's terrible. But 2019, Yellow Vest protesters, solid. Jeremy Kyle show getting cancelled because somebody, something bad happened. That show was absolute trash and kind of fetishised the lives of poor people. Dramatised it as well, which was horrible. So thank God that's off air. And it was in 2019 it was highlighted that Prince Andrew was a paedophile. Now that's a theme that we'd seen over the last couple of years, but that was very interesting for the UK public to see. Someone that was always close to the Queen, getting revealed to be involved with a lot more shady practices. Once again, highlights the nature of power. So 2019, a good thing, but a lot of bad things as well. Eh, I mean, even the yellow vest thing is a bad thing because people had to protest. So yeah, I'm going to stick you 2012. Now, big finale, 2020. We all know where that's going. Um, Coronavirus, affected all of our lives, highlighted real deep problems in our society and competence once again by governments. Um, our distrust in media, distrust in science, really highlighted. As of writing this, we're in a full lockdown at the moment, which is scary. It's affected my academic career as well, which I'll talk about university at some point. Um, Funnily enough, I've just entered my final year of uni, my most important year, the year of the dissertation. And yeah, I'll probably do a separate video on my whole university experience because I feel like that could be interesting to talk about. But yeah, it's not been a good year at all, has it? Um, I mean, even the best thing about this year, the Black Lives Matter movement, even that is tainted to the fact that there's still people out there getting damaged and hurt, and nothing seems to be improving for the black community. It's a real tragedy. But seeing so many young people inspired and taking up alternative points of view, that has only got to be a good thing, and hopefully leading into the next decade, we can really follow the example of the Black Lives Matter organization. Uh, so yeah, this is how I've done it. So God, I've said 2005 is the best year. What did I stick in 2005 again? Oh yeah, Doctor Who YouTube video, and God, how grim was this? Yeah, do you know what? I'm quite happy with this layout. I believe. I reckon. If you disagree, feel free to let me know because I feel like that's important. But yeah, happy with that. So yeah, I thought I would just do that. It was initially meant to be quite light-hearted, but then it became deeply critical of the last 23 years. Um, but I guess my message is, let's hope that the next decade will be something that we can be deeply proud of. We've sown the seeds for a lot of social change. We've highlighted problems in power. Technology continues to advance, and I feel like, yeah, due to coronavirus, even though it was a deeply negative event, we're all kind of becoming a wee bit more closer, and I feel like that can only be a good thing. So sorry this video took God knows how long. I have no idea. I can't even see. Uh, but yeah, thank you very much for watching, and Happy New Year. Cheery bye.